and we are live with another edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. I am one of your co-hosts, Nicholas Pavone, and joined alongside, as always, by my co-host, Andrew Johnson. And Johnson, wow, what a week 8 we just had at college football. A lot of upsets, a bunch of ranked matchups between ranked teams, and a head coaching change as well. Second straight week we've had that happen, and a lot to break down here on the show today. And yeah, it's really tough to nitpick at what we start off with, but yeah, can't say much more about what we just saw in week 8.
College football gets better and better each week. I'm very excited. It's not like the NFL where I kind of know the results. Even though I've been very, very good with the spread this year in college football, better than I think I've ever done. NFL, I'm at an all-time low. Maybe that's why I'm enjoying it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Probably when I got a feeling like, oh man, I could call things.
Yeah.
Like I'm 64% college. I'm red hot, and I'm like 40% NFL. So
yeah,
maybe that's why I'm enjoying it more.
I don't think I'm enjoying football at all right now.
That's fair. That's fair.
I haven't enjoyed football. Last week I was
2000. Probably since maybe the second term of Obama is the last time you enjoyed football.
It felt weird. Like, I felt good about football after Q's beat Clemson and then the Giants beat the Eagles.
You told me, and I quote, I have the FBI agent who was on the line listening to this podcast before we send it out for everyone to listen to. And you said, hey, if Q's doesn't win another game for the rest of the year, I'm happy. So I'm going to hold you to that. That's the monkey paw right there.
I need to find new teams at this point. It's not good for my mental health.
You can be an Aggies fan. I'm gonna get on the bandwagon.
It's because everyone's gonna. I'm gonna be called the front runner. I don't want that to happen.
I've earned this. I've been to Kyle Field. I've been there when they're bad. I've earned this.
I know. So, like I said, Johnson, it's really tough for us to decide where to start off with. But there was a game on Friday night that I think we should start off with because it was a big time upset that happened in the top 25, and especially in the top 5 itself. Louisville goes on the road and knocks off number 2 Miami. And unfortunately for Miami, Johnson, Carson Beck looks like Carson Beck for what we saw a good portion of last season at Georgia. 4 INTs in this game. Miami did fight their way back into this game against the Cardinals of Louisville, but Louisville was able to hold on for a 24-21 upset over the Canes. And now it really puts everything into a wrinkle because if you're Louisville, you're thinking, hey, we could maybe make the ACC championship game and maybe even win the championship. And for Miami now, you're like, okay, well, this was when we talked about it a couple weeks ago. We said if there was going to be a game Miami could lose, it could be this one. They've now officially lost it, and they still have to play SMU. I think that's probably the next toughest opponent they have left. And if they lose again,
they're going to smoke SMU, though.
Yeah, they probably should. They probably should.
This is my take. The biggest loser of this game is not Miami, it's Notre Dame, because Miami is still is on pace to make the playoffs, and they're probably going to win the ACC championship, so they'll probably end up getting a bye. Let's be real. But Notre Dame, this really hurts them because they need credible losses. Those 2 credible losses were Miami and A&M, which when they were number 2 and number 5. It was like, all right, I get it. Like, these are really good teams. We understand why this happened. But now, like, I don't know. It's going to get kind of crazy because if Miami kind of falls off, Notre Dame, they're going to suffer because of it. So, Miami, as long as they kind of take care of business, they'll be fine. They're allowed to you're allowed to lose a game in college.
You're right. They can't do what they did last season.
Multiple games.
Yeah, they can't do what they did last season because 2 losses were the reason why they didn't make it last year. They can't, in my opinion, lose 2 games because they don't play another ranked team this season. And of the teams they play, I don't think any of those teams are even remotely close to being a ranked team at this point.
They're going to have a tune-up game against Stanford at home. Then they're going to play Syracuse at home. They're going to play NC State at home. They're going to be at Virginia Tech, at Pittsburgh, at SMU. Those should all be victories. There's absolutely no reason why they should lose any of these games.
They should win those games, and they probably should roll in those games. But hey, if you're Louisville, don't say now, but they now have a path to the college football playoff at this point, Johnson. They have a path.
They do. No, Louisville definitely has the path because, they're a 1-loss team and, they can play for the ACC championship. They're in the driver's seat for that.
Yeah. I mean, tough games later on in the year. But we'll see. The next 2 weeks, they should be able to roll because they're playing, or maybe the next 3 weeks, you could even say. They're playing Boston College, Vodtech, and Cal. So they should win those 3 games.
Yeah,
and then
and now it's funny enough.
Clemson, SMU, Kentucky, we'll see.
And it's funny enough, Georgia Tech's in that driver's seat now, which I would never guess in a million years, but here we are.
Yeah, we'll go to the AP poll later because if you had told me them and another team were the top 10, I would have called you crazy. Let's go into one of the only top 10 matchup we have between two ranked teams this past week, which was Ole Miss and Georgia. Thrilling back and forth battle between these two teams, but it was Georgia's big fourth quarter that got the job done in that game. They outlast Ole Miss by the final of 43-35. We talked about it going into this game, Johnson. This felt like a must-win for Georgia. Even if they lost, they wouldn't be out of the college football playoff picture. But with their schedule, it's really tough for them to make it there because 3 losses in the SEC we saw last year is not going to help you make that college football playoff. They really needed this win, and they got it thanks to a big performance from Gunnar Stockton.
Yeah, Gunnar Stockton looking good as advertised right here, and Ole Miss should have covered. And I'm going to sound like a broken record because of this, because I'm going to sound like I'm a sore loser because of this, but...
The only pick you got wrong.
Only pick I got wrong, and it was because they had this game in the bag. They were doing so well, and then Georgia made a comeback. So we got to tip your cap at the end of the day. Georgia played really well, and they're playing to make the SEC championship game because it's still wide open. I realize that A&M is at the top right now because they're an undefeated SEC team. And then Alabama's right above them because they have the tiebreaker over Georgia, but anything is really possible at this point.
Right. Yeah. And same could be said for Ole Miss too, even though this is their first loss.
Yeah, they're still fine. It's a one-loss Ole Miss team. I realize they haven't looked great the last couple of weeks. They squeaked by LSU and they squeaked by Washington State, and now they finally blew a lead against Georgia. So maybe this could be a wake-up call, but they're going to be going at Oklahoma this week, and this is the wrong time to have a wake-up call. This is the wrong week to have it.
I think if they lose, it depends on where they're ranked. But if you look at the last 4 games, they're winnable games. They're home against South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, and then they're at Mississippi State. So you would think that they should win those 4 and finish the year 10-2. And if they finish 10-2, that might be just enough to make the college football playoff for them. Because, again, if they beat Oklahoma, I think it goes without saying, if they beat Oklahoma, as long as they don't have a hiccup, they're in for sure. There's no question about it. If they lose, I think they still make it, but it's going to be very close. It's going to be very close for them.
Yeah, certainly be very close.
And Georgia, looking at their schedule, I know they have to play Texas at one point during these last couple games. And then, of course, the last week of the season, that matchup with Georgia Tech looks really, really good right now on paper. That's going to be a fun matchup in Athens. And we'll see. Usually the Florida-Georgia game, that has a little bit more intrigue now after what happened with Florida this past weekend. But, hey, Florida usually gives them a run for their money sometimes in those games. So we'll see what happens in that one. Staying in the SEC, Johnson, let's talk about the other ranked matchup we had in the SEC, or one of the other matchups we should say, and let's talk about Alabama. They continue their win streak against ranked teams and just in general as they knock off their hatred rivals Tennessee this past weekend, 37-20. They look dominant from start to finish in this game over a Volunteers team that now is on the ropes. They're now 2 losses in the SEC at this current point in the season. 17th ranked team in the country. They still have 2 big games left in the year against Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, but obviously now, Johnson, for a team that made the CFP last year, they can't afford another loss the rest of the way.
Yeah, Tennessee must win out, and you hate to win out with 4 or 5 games left on your schedule. But Ty Simpson's looked way better than advertised.
Yeah, Ty Simpson's been unbelievable.
He looks like a Heisman favorite right now. Hey,
I think he is the Heisman favorite.
I mean,
I'll look at Heisman odds right now, but I think he might be the favorite.
I mean, the season's been so crazy. I would believe that he's the Heisman favorite.
Carson Beck, remember, was the odds-on favorite going into the week, and then that 4-interception game happened. I'll tell you right now, it is Ty Simpson. He's number 1.
There you go. I didn't even have to look that up.
It's him and Mendoza. They're so the top 3 are Ty Simpson, Mendoza, and Julian Sayin from Ohio State.
Yeah, I would have thought that would have been Mendoza, but I guess they value the SEC a little bit more, which makes sense.
Mendoza and Simpson is like a coin flip right now. They're pretty much the same odds. And for different different books have them have one guy Mendoza being the favorite, the other book has Simpson being the favorite. So it's literally
so it's a coin flip. All right,
it's
so I'm
coin
not
flip
that
right now
far
between the
off.
two. Right, it's literally a coin flip between the two. And Satan's making a late push, as well as another SEC quarterback, which we'll also talk about a little bit. But yeah, Ty Simpson has been unbelievable for this team. He continues to just thrive in this offense. Another 250 yards and 2 passing touchdowns. And yeah, Bama, despite what happened earlier in the year, they've been rolling as of late. They've won 6 straight. Their last 4 games have been all against ranked SEC teams. They've won all 4 games. And they still have 2 more ranked opponents left on the schedule as of this point. But they look primed to be not only a team in the college football playoff, but they should probably make the SEC championship game as well.
Yeah, I can't see why they won't be in the SEC championship game. I think it's all but written in stone.
So we'll see if they can continue that dominance they've been getting the last couple of weeks. But let's talk about another game, Johnson, that happened between ranked teams. This one not in the SEC. How about the big win for the Irish? You talked about them earlier, where it didn't really help them that Miami lost to Louisville, but them beating USC certainly does help their chances of potentially making the playoff. And the big reason why they won this game, Jeremiah Love was unbelievable in this game too. 228 yards rushing, another touchdown on the day for him as well. Despite an up and down game from CJ Carr, they did just enough to win this game over USC 34-24. And yeah, they're pretty much now in the position to be in a position to make the college football playoff for a second straight season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Notre Dame should be here. I mean, USC is not that impressive to me. And again, the reason why they're here is they're the only team in, I guess, modern history to be 0-2 and ranked in the AP poll after the second week of the season. So,
Yeah.
but they're gonna have a lot of chances to kind of, I guess, prove those victories. Again, USC at home, it's a nice win, but is it like, oh yeah,
The
top 10 win?
defense of Notre Dame is still struggling, but their offense is still hitting on all cylinders right now, which is good because they need it. They need it.
Yeah,
badly.
listen. They dismantled an Arkansas team that had no fight left. I would like to see Arkansas play them right now rather than a couple weeks ago because it looks like a revitalized Arkansas team.
They played A&M
But
close.
yeah. I mean, listen, they should blow out Boston College. They should blow out Navy. It's Pittsburgh, Q, Stanford. So there's not much left on their schedule.
Oh god, I forgot we play them this year. Jesus,
You do play them.
Oh my god, that's in South Bend, isn't it? Right?
It is in South Bend.
Oh boy, whatever the over is for that game, I'm hammering that. I can tell you right now. Jeremiah Love for 300 rushing yards. It seems like a safe bet in that game. Oh man. Anyway, let's go back into the SEC ranked matchups, Johnson. Let's also talk about Vanderbilt. With one of its biggest wins in recent memory, they knock off number 10 LSU 31-24. And we talked about earlier with the Heisman odds, but Diego Pavia is still hovering around in the Heisman votes. He's right now 4th best odds. But if Vanderbilt continues to keep winning and they are in a position to make the college football playoff, he has a sneaky chance to potentially win the Heisman Trophy this season. And he's got some big games that'll come in the next couple of weeks, including a big one this upcoming weekend. But yeah, Johnson, what a big win for this Commodores team, and same goes for LSU. They just can't. They can't do it. They can't get the job done right now.
Why not, Nick?
Oh, Brian Kelly. That's exactly why.
Brian Kelly.
It is downright awful what has happened to this program. Everyone, remember where we were 5 years ago with LSU. Coach O leading one of the greater offense units we've ever seen in college football, with Burrow and Chase and Jefferson. I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire was their running back.
Yeah.
Thaddeus Moss, tight end. Like, I know those are obviously some of those guys aren't in the NFL. The last two are of note, but that team was unbelievable, and no one could stop them defensively. And they get rid of Coach O a couple years later. They bring in Brian Kelly after a tumultuous tenure at Notre Dame. And now you're at the point where you probably have to fire this guy. There's really nothing left you can do. The only hope LSU has is to win out. They have no path to the playoff besides winning out. And their next 2 games, home against A&M this week, and then they're at Alabama. Good luck. Good luck.
They call him Big Game Brian Kelly, Nick. They call him Big Game Brian Kelly because he's going to get the job done. When I mean by get the job done, I mean he's going to job the other team.
I think the problem has been their offense has looked horrific for most of the season. Garrett Nussmeier probably had one of his better games this past game against Vanderbilt, but he still hasn't looked like the guy we saw from last season either. And I really think that has been a big factor for them the majority of the year. And like I said, I think they have to move on from him at this point if they're going to have any hope of getting back to that team in 2020, or at least trying to get in the conversation, be in a college football playoff format. But yeah, it's bad. It's bad right now for the LSU. Really, really bad. Vanderbilt's on the up, and LSU's on the downfall right now.
Yeah, what a wild time to be a Penn State fan, right?
Oh, God. If they go from James Franklin to Brian Kelly, good luck. That's bad.
Hey, what do you mean? It's the same guy.
It literally is. That's the point.
That'll be great.
You're literally just replacing bad with bad. Oh, boy. Anyway, let's go into our next game, Johnson. Another top 10 upset we saw this past weekend. Arizona State. They get Sam Leavitt back at quarterback after he missed the previous game against Utah, and he leads the Sun Devils to a big upset over number 7 Texas Tech, really shaking up now the Big 12 standings at this point late in the season, to where right now BYU, who we'll talk about in a little bit as well, BYU right now is on top of that conference, and the number 2 team is, pick a name out of a hat at this point.
Nick, you know what I love talking about all the time?
It's a lot of things you like talking about.
Transitive wins, and with that win over Texas, Tech, you know who has the transitive win over Texas Tech? Mississippi State. You know what Mississippi State is? They're like the 11th best team in the SEC. This just furthers my agenda that this conference is not good. The Texas Tech is not good. These are just not good football teams.
Texas Tech dealing with quarterback issues because they had their quarterback injured during the Utah game, but it's still not a good look that they lost this game. It's at least good for Arizona State. They're back in the playoff picture again.
That is true.
It's not like Texas Tech is out of it, but yeah, this loss doesn't help.
Yeah, I'm just not really a huge. I guess I'm just not a huge fan. I don't know why.
I get
I'm not, but
it's going to come down to this because because you look at this for Texas Tech. They have one of the easier Big 12 schedules, except for one game. Because they play Oklahoma State at the bottom of the conference, West Virginia at the bottom of the conference, UCF at the bottom of the conference, and Kansas State having a middling season. But in the middle of all those games, they have number 11 BYU at home. That game is going to be the make or break game for them. Because if they win, they more than likely will be in the Big 12 championship game, and maybe they're a shoo-in for the college football playoff. I'm not sure. They lose, they're obviously out. But yeah, a tough loss for them in this game. And then for Arizona State, I'll give their schedule a quick glance real quick before we go into our final recap. They play Houston this upcoming weekend. Houston's has had a nice season, but I'm still not certain I believe in them. Iowa State is always a tough opponent to play against, and then you play West Virginia, Colorado, and Arizona, who are at the bottom of the conference to round out the year. So Arizona State's path is there. They just need
it's there, and I hate every second of it.
Yeah, it's there, but the only way they have a chance is to win the Big 12 championship, and they need Cincinnati or BYU to lose a game right now to be in that spot.
I guess we'll find out soon what they either put up or shut up at this point.
Yeah. And then speaking of BYU, let's go into our final recap of the week. BYU wins the Holy War. They hold off Utah by the final of 1 second. I had that score on me, and then I lost it. 24-21, I believe, was the final without checking it. And I was right. Okay. BYU, big win for them, Johnson, in this game. They're trying to prove to the haters that they are a potential team that could make the CFP. They're still undefeated, the only undefeated team in the Big 12. They are one of 2 teams undefeated in the conference with, as aforementioned, Cincinnati. And if you look at their schedule, they have a tougher schedule down the stretch of the season in terms of trying to get there. They'll play Iowa State this weekend. Then they're at Texas Tech, home against TCU, and then at Cincinnati, and then they round out the year with UCF. So their next 4 games are tough for them if they want to really prove to the world that they are the team to beat in the Big 12.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit tough of him. You're not lying. What do you think their best? Give me your rundown, Nick. What do you think is going to happen? What do you think?
I don't think they
make future
it.
Lie. You don't think they make it?
I don't think they make it.
Any road particular
games
reason?
At Texas Tech and Cincinnati, really tough, and Iowa State. Those are 3 really tough road games for them. They really haven't had to face a really tough road environment yet, in my opinion. Looking at their schedule, they played at Colorado, at Arizona, and at East Carolina. So Colorado's probably the only big threat, road game they've had, and they almost lost that game entirely. Colorado had a chance to win that game at the end. But they looked good in this game against Utah. I think that's the biggest thing going for them. I'm curious how they do in this next game against Iowa State. I think that will really tell for me if they're going to be legitimate. I think now for Utah, 2 losses in the conference, you're pretty much done at this point. I really thought this team was going to be the team to be in the Big 12. And they have Colorado, Cincinnati, Baylor, Kansas State, and Kansas, so they probably could win out. But even if they went out, it's probably it more than likely does nothing for them in terms of making to the Big 12 championship. So the story at the end of the day is this BYU team and seeing where they go from here in terms of trying to make it to that championship game and potentially make it to the CFP as well along the way. But
they need a hope and a prayer is what you're telling me here.
A hope and a prayer is definitely what I'm telling you right there. It's going to be a lot of tough games for them upcoming. Before we go into our AP poll reaction, Johnson, we did have another coaching change, and this time it's from the SEC. Billy Napier's gone, Florida. I know you are clapping and very happy about that, because if he's basically in the category of Franklin and Brian Kelly at this point, where you're expecting something good, and it just continues to get worse and worse. So congrats.
Yeah, we could say this was expected though. Like it's no secret that Florida fans want him out, and the rumor was this was kind of been done since like week 2.
Here's a question I got for you: what's more of an enticing job? If you were a head coach, is Penn State or Florida more enticing?
Florida. Northeastern football fans do not care about college football.
The recruiting itself also is.
The recruiting itself is just so much easier in the SEC. You have way better recruits, and this is again. As 2 Northeasterners, it's a way of life down south. There's a whole section of the South, like a whole 5,000 square, not 5,000, but like 1,000 square mile radius in the South where there's not a single other professional sports team.
Now,
and that's just the grip they have on the sports life there.
Now, here's 2 more questions I have before we go into this poll. If Auburn becomes available, which it should be if someone because they've been really bad, I'm assuming Florida's still more enticing, right?
Florida's still more enticing.
Okay, now second part. Who do you think Florida goes after? Because we had this conversation with Penn State and guys like Matt Rule and Cignetti, and Cignetti obviously got an extension with Indiana, so he's not going anywhere anytime soon. Who do you think becomes the next guy at Florida as their head coach? Because I have seen a couple names floated around.
It depends. You want to talk about like
I can tell you the odds right now of who they think is going to be the coach.
Well, hold on. Before you give me the odds here, let's talk about you can go guys in house. Like you can see like in conference, like you could try to steal Lane Kiffin.
That's really number 1 odds right now.
Like I wouldn't leave Lane because you're building something really great for this, and with NIL money, anything's possible now. Look at Indiana.
Yeah, but it goes back to where you were talking about earlier.
Now, what I will say,
Mississippi compared to Florida, that might be enticing for
Eli Drinkwitz from Missouri. I think he's up there too. Is he up there? I think Marcus Freeman has a shot there too.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think I would leave Notre Dame for Florida, but yeah.
I would, because you could lose 2 games and make the playoffs. Like Notre Dame, it's like they
lost 2 games, they're probably going to make the playoff now.
Maybe, and that's because they're named Notre Dame.
Yeah.
What are the odds right now?
So here are the odds. So plus 250s Lane Kiffin, plus 400 Eli Drinkwitz. Plus 700 Jedd Fisch, the Washington head coach, because he's a former Florida alumni.
Okay.
You have Rhett Lashlee, the SMU coach, plus 800. You'll laugh at this one. James Franklin is plus 900.
That's funny.
Jeff Braun, the Louisville head coach, is plus 1,000.
Okay.
Alex Golesh, who famously his South Florida team went into the swamp earlier this year, beat Florida. He is plus 1,200. Marcus Freeman is plus 1,500. Brent Key from Georgia Tech is plus 1,700. And then the one that made me really smile at the end of the day, Urban Meyer plus 2,000.
It's possible.
How funny would that be if he went back?
It'd be really funny if he went back. He goes full circle.
You know what I want to see? Hire Tim Tebow. Why not? Hire Tebow.
No.
Screw it. I want to see Tebow as the coach. You shouldn't do it, but you should do it. You shouldn't, but you should. Make my dreams make my dream reality. But other than that, yeah, very interesting next couple of months for Florida in terms of who they hire to head coach. They'll be competing with Penn State and probably Auburn. I think, and probably LSU too. LSU is probably going to fire Kelly at this point. That's actually LSU or Florida. I think that's a good question. Who would you take out of the two?
Probably Florida.
Probably Florida. I think I take LSU. I don't know. Oh, it's tough. I'm just expecting them to fire Brian Kelly at this point. It's got to happen. But we'll go into your favorite part of the show besides the Mushy Hour. Let's talk about the AP poll, Johnson. Boy, was there a shakeup. Of course, that's to be expected when you have two top 10 teams losing. You have a bunch of ranked teams playing each other. You had USC, Memphis, Utah, and Nebraska loses to Minnesota. No surprise there. They lose that game after getting ranked. They're now out of the polls once again. You have newcomers in Michigan, Arizona State, and Illinois, as well as now Louisville after their win over Miami. The movement that we saw Indiana and A&M go up a spot. Now they are 2 and 3 respectively. Bama and Georgia are 4 and 5 respectively, followed by Oregon. Georgia Tech is now in the top 10 at number 7. Ole Miss drops to 8. Miami drops to 9. And Vanderbilt is now number 10 in the country to round out the top 10. Yeah, BYU number 11. You have Texas Tech dropping to 14. Tennessee dropping to 17. LSU dropping to 20. And Cincinnati goes up 3 spots to 21. That's pretty much the biggest movements that we had. So, any thoughts on that? I know you love how.
Yeah, Notre Dame should be at like 17. Miami should be at like 16. Louisville should probably be at 15. If you're gonna put, I think if they're gonna beat Miami in Miami and they're a 5-1 team, you're gonna sit here and tell me Virginia's better. Like you're gonna sit here and tell me South Florida's better than Louisville. Like let's calm down a little bit here.
For our 2 Group of 5 picks from earlier the year, for Boise State and James Madison, they're getting votes.
I know they're coming back into it. The
problem is right now South Florida is the Group of 5 team to beat, and then maybe
I think they're gonna drop a couple games here.
Well, I'm glad you said that because we'll talk about that game in a little bit. They're playing Memphis this upcoming weekend. That's a big game in terms of being that last Group of 5, being that Group of 5 team. If not them, then it could be my James Madison pick or your Boise State pick. We'll have to see. So, other than that, Johnson, anything you want to talk about before we go into the Mushing Hour?
No, let's just go straight into it.
All right, let's go straight into it. It's not as loaded of a slate as last week, but there are still some big games this week. You have 3 of the biggest games are in the SEC. That's no surprise there. But there are some games that could be under the radar that could be sneaky good this week. And I think this one could be one of them. Maybe you don't have the same opinion, but UCLA, who has won 3 straight games, they have been red hot as of late in the Big Ten. They go on the road to Bloomington to take on number 2 Indiana. It's still wild to think that they are the number 2 team in the country. The Hoosiers are a 24.5 point favorite, 54.5 the over-under.
Ooh, this is a tough one. Give me Indiana minus 24.5 because it doesn't matter what UCLA is going to do. I don't think they're going to cover.
I just think that's a lot of points. I'm going to take the Bruins. I really don't have much more to say about it.
I think I'll be real with you. I think if Indiana could beat Illinois by 50 points,
that's true.
I'm not inclined to believe that they can't do it at the UCLA.
That's fair. That's fair.
Even if they are playing at Illinois' level right now, Indiana at home, I really think they'll beat them by 50 points.
Yeah, listen, it's possible. I'm just gonna ride with the cool story right now. The Bruins went from a dumpster fire to now a fun team to watch right now in this conference. So I'll take them to cover the 24.5, but in no right mind do I think they're going to win this game. Indiana should win this game and keep their CFP hopes alive as well as the Big Ten title hopes alive. What's our next game?
We have number 18 South Florida going into Memphis to take on the Tigers. South Florida is a 3.5-point favorite on the half, over on the slate at 65.5. South Florida will win this game. Give me South Florida minus 3.5. They're going to cover.
Yeah, Memphis was a ranked team last week, and then they lost to UAB, who just fired Trent Dilfer the week prior. So they had a big letdown spot there. And now they're home for this game. So originally I was just about to say South Florida minus 3.5. I think because them having that letdown spot, I think they'll keep this game close. I'll take Memphis to cover the 3.5. I don't think they win this game, but I think they'll keep it a field goal game with the Bulls of South Florida in this one. We'll go back into the SEC. Number 4 Alabama goes on the road to South Carolina. The Tide are a 13.5-point favorite. 47.5 the over-under. I think you and I are both in agreement. Bama probably blows them out.
Yeah, Bama minus 13.5. I think this is
it's tough. South Carolina had so much hype going into the season. It's just all gone downhill. It's not really Lenore Stella's fault. It's just the team around him is not anywhere near where they were last season. So I'm with you on that game as well. What's our next game?
Number 11 BYU going into Iowa State. Iowa State is a 2.5-point favorite at home. 49.5 is the slated over-under. And with how wacky the Big 12 is, give me Iowa State to win at home.
Yep.
Iowa State minus 2.5.
I hate the line because BYU should be the favorite in this game, but you're right. With the way the Big 12 has been this season, you got a ranked team outside the top 10 going on the road and as an underdog. I got to go with Iowa State in this game too. I think they have a little bit more experience in terms of being in that spotlight compared to BYU, and yeah, I hate the line. They're telling me to take Iowa State in this spot, so I'm with you on that game as well. Our next game, back into the SEC, big one for one particular team. I guess both teams technically this is a big one. Number 3 A&M, number 20 LSU. A&M a 2.5-point favorite, 48.5 the over/under. It's an elimination game for LSU with this one, Johnson.
And LSU is going to stay alive because not only are they going to cover, they're going to win. This is A&M's first loss of the season. The Swamp is no joke. Swamp is no joke. As an A&M fan, I hate to say, but LSU plus 2.5. Oh, yeah, Death Valley. I don't know why I said this. Why I said the Swamp.
We were talking about Florida earlier.
I know.
That's okay. Yeah,
they're gonna go across the. They're gonna go across the state border. It's not too far from Houston, Texas, and there's a lot of people that lived in Louisiana now living in Houston. Unfortunately, due to Hurricane Katrina, they moved 20 years ago, and they're still diehard LSU fans. So I'll bet you any money they'll make the trip out for this game too. So give me LSU plus 2.5.
Well, what's the thing about A&M? They have this one or two games where they should win on paper, and then they unfortunately lose. Everyone expected that earlier in the year against Notre Dame, and they pulled out the win. I unfortunately am with you. I think this is the spot because at some point they're going to have that letdown game. They did not look great against Arkansas last week. Gave up a lot of points against a team that just fired their head coach. And LSU, I'm not saying that they're going to make the CFP. They're out of it. I think what's going to happen is this, Johnson. I get pictured right now. They win this game, they buy back in, and then they go to Alabama and they get steamrolled in that game against the Tide. I could see it right now happening easily, clear as day. So I'm with you. I think LSU does win this game. It doesn't hurt A&M. I think they'll still be in the top 10 at the end of the week, probably number 9 or 10. But I have LSU plus 2.5 as well in that game. How about our next game?
We have number 15 Missouri going on the road into Tennessee to take on number 10 Vanderbilt. Vandy is a 2.5-point favorite at home. 52.5 is the slate over under. Give me Mizzou plus 2.5. I think Vandy's going to win by a point or two, but I think Mizzou is just going to cover.
If you have told me this game would be a ranked matchup, one of the more anticipated matches of the week, they're going to game day for this game this week too. What a storyline this has been. I gotta ride with the feel good story. I'm gonna go with Vanderbilt in this game, minus 2.5. I'm at the point where I really would like to see them in the college football playoff because Diego Pavia deserves to be in that spotlight, being recognized as one of the more exciting players that we've had in college football the last 2-3 years. So I would like them to win this game and continue that momentum. So I've got Vanderbilt to cover the -2.5 and get the win over Missouri in that matchup. And then our final matchup of the week will stay in the SEC, a big matchup in Norman, Oklahoma, as number 8 Ole Miss goes on the road to take on number 13 Oklahoma. The Sooners are a 4.5-point favorite, 52.5 the over-under.
Give me Oklahoma -4.5 here.
I have been back and forth in this game, and unfortunately for Ole Miss, I'm kind of leaning towards Oklahoma because of their defense. So I'm gonna go with the Sooners as well in this one, the -4.5. The only reason is Ole Miss had that game won against Georgia, they let it slip away from them. I could see them still lingering and thinking about that game and then falling in this spot to the Sooners. And as I mentioned earlier, it's not necessarily one where this eliminates them from the CFP, but if they lose, they probably are going to need some help along the way to make the CFP because they don't really have any big name games left afterwards. That LSU win is the only thing they have, and LSU right now doesn't look like a good win at this point for them. So, yeah, it's going to be tough times for the Rebels at this point in the season. So, I'll go with you. I'll be taking that pick as well with you, -4.5, to round out this week's mushing hour. Hopefully, I do better than what I did last week. Can't get any much worse for me at this point right now in terms of picking it.
Not really, yeah. You're kind of
It's been really bad.
Yep.
I started off 3-0. I'm like, oh, I'm looking good this week, and then the last 5 games happen. Yeah. You know what the worst beat was? Bama and Tennessee. I don't know if you saw that game. The over missed by 1.5 and Tennessee
I saw that.
had a touchdown at the end of the game that they didn't review, and the referees didn't officially review it because the game was already a blowout and it was over. So I was like, wow, this is how we're losing games, huh?
Yeah.
And then, of course, USC loses by 10. The spread was 9.5 originally. Just bad beats. It's been like that all season long for me. But maybe I get a better week this week. Who knows? Any final thoughts, Johnson, before I wrap this one up?
Go Aggies.
Can Syracuse please win a game? Do you know who we're playing this week, Johnson?
Nope. You already asked. You already got. You're satisfied.
I know. Do you know?
Winning more games.
I know. Do you know who we're playing this week?
SMU.
We're at number 7, Georgia Tech.
All right, have fun, buddy.
It just gets worse and worse. Oh God, it's a good thing there's a lot more college football games that I don't have to watch that one. But hey, if they pull off the upset, I'll be talking about it next week live here on the show. But
there you go.
That's going to do it for this week's edition of the All Gas No Break Sports Show. An unbelievable week number 8 that just took place in college football. Big upsets from Louisville as well as Arizona State. You had Georgia, Alabama, Notre Dame, and Vanderbilt, and BYU also, all getting ranked wins against opponents in their own conference. And now, except Notre Dame, they technically beat a rival in that game. But nonetheless, big games, and of course the Billy Napier firing leaves us with a lot more questions to be answered going into week number 9. A big slate will leave us to seeing what's going to happen in week number 9 this upcoming weekend. For Nicholas Pavona and Andrew Johnson, this has been the All Gas No Break Sports Show. Have a great rest of your week.